3 former Red Sox failing miserably on their new teams. The Boston Red Sox haven't started off the 2023 season strong, but a few former players clearly wouldn't have helped with how they've played on new teams. The Boston Red Sox haven't had as bad of a start to the 2023 MLB season as some expected them to have. Even though the club sits at the bottom of the AL East entering the weekend, the club is just a single game below .500. In fact, if they were in the AL Central or NL West, they would be within 3 games of first place in the division. Still, with players hopefully getting healthier and returning to the roster as the season goes on, the Red Sox still have hope for what this season can be. There will be plenty of people who question how Chaim Bloom handled the offseason, to be sure, and rightfully so, but the team is still better than some imagined they'd be. And to Bloom's credit, several former Red Sox who could have been re-signed or returned to Boston this season were actually smart moves to not bring back given how badly they've been performing on their new teams. Red Sox, 3 former players failing miserably on new teams. 1. Matt Barnes hasn't bounced back with Marlins after Red Sox trade. It feels like a decade ago, even if it was less than 2 years, that Matt Barnes was a legitimate all-star out of the bullpen for Boston, as he seemed to be putting it all together. The Red Sox brass clearly believed that too as they signed the righty reliever to a 2-year, $18.75 million extension. That worked out disastrously. Barnes declined dramatically over the second half of the 2021 season after his all-star work early in the year, and then, plagued by injuries and more struggles, 2022 only made matters worse. Things eventually came to a head in January when Barnes was DFA'd by Boston and traded to the Miami Marlins a week thereafter. Right out of the gate, even with Miami limping to start the year, Barnes looked like he might be getting his groove back with 2 scoreless outings in which he pitched a full inning in each appearance, allowing a combined 1 hit and 1 walk with no earned runs. Since then, though, things have started to fall apart a bit for Barnes in a manner that Red Sox fans are all too familiar with. In his 3rd outing of the year, he came in and gave up a home run and a walk that contributed to a blowout loss to the Mets. After a solid outing the next time out, he then gave up 2 hits and a run in his next appearance as well. He seemed to be getting on track again, but, in his most recent appearance against the Braves, he got rocked as he gave up 4 earned runs in 1 inning while allowing 3 hits and 2 walks. That ballooned his ERA to 5.23 and whip to 1.23 on the year. Barnes clearly hasn't fixed his issues with inconsistency and the costly blow-up outings. Not that anyone in Boston is surprised after watching him over the last year and a half. 2. Franchy Cordero did the Red Sox a favor by stinking it up with the Yankees. Oftentimes, when a player leaves the Red Sox, as long as it's relatively ceremonious as they depart, fans will still root for them to succeed. Especially given the circumstances, at least for rational fans, that's the case with Xander Bogaerts on the Padres, who has indeed been crushing it. When it comes to Franchy Cordero, though, that couldn't be a further cry from the truth. Not only was he quite bad throughout his time in Boston, many times frustratingly so with a slew of mental errors, particularly on defense, but he then inked a deal with the rival Yankees before the start of the regular season. Yankees fans had a case of premature celebration at the former rival thriving early on as he hit .357 with an absurd 1.257 OPS over his first 4 games with New York, mashing 2 home runs with 7 RBI in the process. He added 2 more homers in the next 2 games, but things spiraled in a bad way overall. Over his last 15 games with the Yankees, Cordero was a disastrous 5.443 at the plate and made at least 1 boneheaded defensive play that cost New York runs. How badly has Cordero been failing, though? There's no better way to encapsulate that than by noting he was demoted to AAA after Friday's loss to the Rangers, a performance that saw the outfielder go 0-for-3, making him 0-for-17 in his last 17 plate appearances. If that type of failure had to happen to any team, Red Sox fans are glad it was the Yankees, if nothing else. 3. Tommy Pham has been a net negative for the Mets this season. After being dealt to Boston at the trade deadline a year ago, Tommy Pham landed on the Red Sox, trying to give the team a puncher's chance at a possible late playoff push. That, of course, didn't remotely happen. But Pham was ultimately solid playing his home games at Fenway, posting a .672 OPS but hitting 6 home runs and 12 doubles with 24 RBI over just 53 games. With the Red Sox adding Masataka Yoshida and Adam Duvall this offseason, though, they were happy to let Pham walk in free agency, and he eventually was signed by the Mets. Pham hasn't been an everyday outfielder for the Mets, to be sure, playing in just 19 of the team's first 27 games. But if he was trying to make a case to be an everyday player in New York, he's doing an extremely poor job of it. Over those 19 appearances, Pham is slashing just .196/.283/.348 for the Mets with strikeouts in more than a quarter of his at-bats to this point, 12 out of 46. He does have 2 home runs and 7 RBI, but the fact of the matter is that a player who was not a great overall glove in the outfield is now hitting below the Mendoza line. Suffice it to say, hanging on to Pham if this was what he was going to do in the 2023 season wouldn't have done anything to help the Red Sox cause. For now, that's it. Any updates regarding this news, we will bring them here to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.